guys, Stephanie here. Welcome. If you haven't been here, thanks for visiting. I hope to see you in my next videos, but I want to talk a little bit about soil. So I've learned so much about soil over the years, and it was pretty eye-opening how important it is to get your plants and your vegetation, especially if you're doing like a cutting garden or trying to grow vegetables or just plants in general, how important it is to give your plants the right head start. Okay, so basically soil is comprised of particles, and they're minerals of clay, sand, and silt. And that really plays a role in your soil texture, which is really important for your plants. And so let's take a look at the first type of soil. All right, so every type of soil has its pros and cons. The ideal is to get a mixture of all three, and you're wanting to create a loamy soil. First, we're gonna talk about clay. So clay feels sticky when wet, and it becomes really dense and compact. You can almost, so this is clay soil. Right now as I grab it, it doesn't feel super gritty, but when it gets wet, it turns into Play-Doh, and you can just start playing with it. It has tiny particles, and it's not ideal for crops and like cutting gardens and those kind of things because it has poor drainage. But a positive thing is it does hold on to water, so it keeps the nutrients better. So ideally with clay soil, you want to ease into watering, water more deeply and less frequently. So it is good for areas that are in a drought like mine, but it's not great for vegetation and tomatoes and cutting gardens and all those things, because you want something that drains well and lets the plants breathe and has good airflow, which this one does not. So that's a little bit about clay soil. Let's go talk about sandy soil for a minute. So over here, they brought in some sandy soil, and this one, as you can see, is a lot, well, I don't know if you can tell, I'm trying to get a close-up. See those gritty? It's gritty and grainy. And that is an easy way to tell the texture of this soil. Anyways, this soil drains really well, which can be a problem because it doesn't hold on to nutrients. The nutrients will kind of wash out, but it does have good drainage. And with this soil, you want to water more frequently with less water just because it drains so quickly. So that can be a little bit high maintenance. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about silt. I have something that kind of looks like silt in my house, so let's go look at it. All right, before I head home to show you that silty soil and my loamy soil, I just wanted to show you this clay soil. So another thing I forgot to add is it is like cement sometimes when it is dry, and it can be very challenging to work with. I just remember my sister, she got a new development, was trying to do landscaping, and she tried to plant some new plants, and trying to shovel through this clay was like shoveling through cement. And so it can be really sticky when wet and heavy, and it can be really dry and hard. Okay, here's some wet clay right here. I'll show you. It rained today. See how that just forms? It is so hard to get through already. So I can imagine roots would have a hard time spreading through that, and water getting through there nicely. We'll just hold on to it. And all right, so I'm in one of my flower beds. It's so interesting because this west side of my property has such different soil than the rest of my property. So it just kind of depends, I guess, on what kind of weathered rock is under there, what native material. But this one, I would say, is a little bit more combination of sand and silt and clay, but it definitely has a more flowery touch to it, and it's super soft. That's kind of what silt is. But basically, silt has smaller particles than sand, but bigger particles than clay. So it holds on to moisture a little bit better and holds nutrients better than sand. This isn't a true version of silt, but silty, if it's wet, it's really smooth, and it can also get crusty and kind of hard and compact, and it's very flowery to the touch. It is a good soil as far as holding moisture, but it can become crusty, so that's not good. So what we're aiming for is that loamy soil, like I said, and I have some of that in my yard. I actually have beautiful soil in my yard. All right, can you see how nice and dark and rich this is? When I grab this, oh, it feels so nice. It's not really gritty. It doesn't feel heavy like clay, and it has a little bit of that siltiness to it. So this is ideally what you're going for. A good example that if you live in a climate with a lot of clay and you're kind of discouraged and it's frustrating, you can help it over time. It is going to take some work, but add organic matter every year, and over the years you're going to kind of change that structure and it's going to break down and it's going to create a soil that drains really well. So loamy soil is your ideal soil because it holds on to water, it holds on to nutrients, but it also drains that excess moisture that you don't want, so your roots are getting nice airflow and getting a lot of nice nitrogen, and you do that by adding organic matter. So I'm just going to show you some different organic matter that's made my soil really, really awesome. Here you can see these leaves and these branches. We just leave it here. So leave your branches in if you want. I mean, just over through the fall. I clean up the branches in spring, but they'll just break down. Leaves break down really fast. So that's a great organic material. And then I'll walk over to this next area. All right, do you see these arborvitaes? They're beautiful, tall, but they also drop all these pine needles. I never clean them up, and that's really helped with the soil. And they break down, they kind of just disappear through the winter and spring. I don't really have to deal with them, but I kind of shovel them in. Don't get rid of them because they're awesome. And this is where I want loamy soil this year. I'm gonna be having my first cutting garden in this whole area. I'm gonna be prepping for that in a month or two. Our greenhouse is getting built over there. But this area is important to have a nice loamy soil because these annuals want it. Anyways, we have made this our dumping pile back here, but this is going to be kind of awesome because all of this is natural compost. This is the piles and piles of whiting I've done, grass clippings, and I've chucked them back here. And this actually is kind of a natural compost because they'll heat up in there and it's putting a lot of nice nutrients to my soil naturally. And back here, I'm gonna probably guess that when I went to go to get my soil tested, that it's gonna come back really nutrient rich and I'm not gonna have to do very much just because of all this natural compost we've thrown back here over the past 5 years. Anyway, look at all these leaves. These are great leaves. And so this really, really helps change that structure of your soil and the things that you're looking for. And to say it changes the texture, not the structure. You don't want to mess with the structure too much, but I just want to give the last few tips to share. So if you're really struggling with clay, you just till in some sandy soil, some silt, and then a lot of organic matter every single year, and over time that's really going to help. If you have sandy soil, add organic matter. That will help retain moisture and add nutrients. It's a little bit easier than working with clay. Silt's kind of less obvious, so I don't have a lot to say about that, but I was focusing mainly on clay, sand, and getting to that loamy soil because we all want to grow beautiful vegetables, beautiful flowers, and it starts with soil. Anyways, if you have any questions, comment down below. If you found this video helpful, give me a like, subscribe. I have a lot more content coming, and I appreciate you being here. All right, have a good day and night. It's freezing. I'm going to go inside. Talk to you later. Bye.